Hello, and welcome to another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. Today we're going to be talking about the Bucks and Pacers Game 6 and some of the implications from that. And then the Brewers, their 6-game road trip, which ended today. Their 3 games against the Cubs and their 3 games against the Royals. Let's get into it.
Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
All right, so we are back on another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. If you are subscribed to us on Patreon, you would have gotten to see us last night also, which we did a watch party for the Brewers against the Royals yesterday, which included a super long pregame show. I shouldn't say super long. I should say super informative. That sounds better. Super long makes it sound boring. I don't think it was.
Yeah, it was jam-packed, dude.
A lot of information in those pregame shows. I'll have some clips coming out in the next few days here, but not only that, we got to see Willie Adames hit a go-ahead 3-run home run, so got to see that live. If you were tuned in for that, I know Michael was. And other than that, I mean, that was a fun game last night to do the Patreon show for. The next one is going to be on May 28th. That's going to be a Brewers Cubs game. That's for sure going to be a fun one for us to dive into. So if you want to have your input for what games we cover in June and then watch that watch party on May 28th, the Brewers versus the Cubs, sign up for us on Patreon over there. It's $5 a month. You get 2 watch parties that we're doing the exclusive pregame and postgame, and we're live during the entire games. And you get to see graphics before anybody else does. Before they go out onto social medias, they go onto there first. And obviously we're going to do our best to, we're going to thank every person that subscribes on our next watch party. So everybody that subscribes the next watch party, we're going to give you a shout out and a thank you for subscribing to us over there. So,
well, and we like you a little bit more than everybody else. So,
yeah, that might just be kind of a given.
I didn't know. I didn't remind them.
I have a clip from last night's show, actually, that I'm going to share at some point today or tomorrow about Jake just talking about what it means for us, that if we're able to really build some momentum with the Patreon side of it and we're able to monetize ourselves a little bit and continue to do so and have that at a greater volume, that's really where Jake and I are going to be able to build momentum and possibly get to a place where we can make the show our full-time jobs. That is absolutely our goal. As far as personally goes, our goal for the show is obviously to talk about sports, Wisconsin sports specifically, from a more positive and optimistic perspective. But we would love to be able to do that every day. And if we get to a point where the Patreon grows to a large enough size that we are able to do that every day, it just means we're going to be able to do more of those types of things.
I'm just going to tell you guys, I mean, if it gets big enough where, Tyler's first, man, because he puts a lot of work in. If Tyler by himself gets to do this as a full-time thing, you guys are going to get a lot more just from that, just from 50% of us having off. So, Tyler first, and then I'll follow suit. And then it'll just be like a right, and then a left, and we'll knock you guys out with all this information and positivity. And it's just going to be a world that you guys are going to want to live in. So that's all I got with that. That's my 2 cents.
It's all for Wisconsin sports. So, and we'll be here every Wednesday. That part of it is not changing.
No.
The Wednesday shows, they're not going anywhere. They're not going away. That's not changing. The only thing we're doing is we're doing extra. So it's going to be just extra until we get to a point where, like I said, that we can do this full time.
Yes, sir.
So that said, we are going to start with the Bucks, and we do have to talk about the Bucks being eliminated from the playoffs. But here's the thing: you're not going to catch Jake and I crying real man tears, telling everybody we need to tear it down and we need to trade everybody. The fact that I had to see several people being like, should the Bucks consider trading Giannis? The Bucks should trade Damian Lillard. The fact that these are conversations that people are actually having on social media is insane. And I know Jake's going to have another conversation to bring up after we talk about this game. But let's talk about the game first, and then let's talk about some of the implications. So just the game specifically, what stood out to you?
Well, it was very apparent early that the Pacers were coming out and they were throwing punches, not literally, but figuratively. And I have to say that because there was a situation with one of our players, which we will talk about afterwards, because it's absolutely insane the stuff I've been reading about it. But Bobby had a pretty good game actually, but we've had this conversation before in the past where there's a loud 20 and 15 and there's a quiet 20 and 15. And this was a quiet 20 and 15 from Bobby Portis. It didn't really feel like an impact of a 20 and 15 game. But when you go back and you look at the box score, you're like, oh, wow, that's Bobby Portis showed up. He was 8 of 17. That's not bad. 1 of 1 from the 3-point line. And like I said, the good numbers. Brook Lopez also had 20. Dame had 28. Struggled from behind the arc, but he was getting to the free throw line and forcing the issue there. So that's a good sign for that. And there was a lot of quotes that came out after this game. We'll get into that in a sec. But the thing that was very apparent to me was the bench disparity. And I don't think it's for lack of talent, which everybody is pointing to. I don't think the Bucks lack talent. The Bucks have a lot of talented players. I mean, Marjon Beauchamp's a very talented guy. We've seen him, dunk on plenty of people with 2 hands, with 1 hand, off 1 foot, off 2 feet this year. Andre Jackson Jr. has shown signs. AJ Green has shown signs. It's not that the Bucks don't have young talent, because they do.
Mm-hmm.
And even on top of that, we have a lot of guys in their prime. I mean, Chris Middleton's at the end of his prime. Same with Damian Lillard. Giannis in the mid-end of his prime. I would say more middle, but some people might argue end. But, the makeup of this team is actually good, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And when you're building a roster and putting a roster together, the Bucks roster is, traditionally what you go for. Couple star players. This guy's a good role player. This guy's a good role player. This guy does his job. Brook Lopez, does his job. And then blah, blah, blah. We have a couple young guys that could do their job, right? Mm-hmm. So the makeup of this roster is good, but you could tell that the Pacers being at home was really the big difference.
I agree. Can I throw something out on the bench? Looking at it, and I had this written in my notes too, that the bench thing, looking at it, Malik Beasley played 22 minutes and 41 seconds off the bench. Obviously, shot 1 of 5, which isn't ideal. Pat Connaughton played 16 minutes and 26 seconds off the bench. He shot 1 of 4, which, again, obviously isn't ideal. He added 5 rebounds. But other than that, AJ Green played 5 minutes, 22 seconds. Andre Jackson played 5 minutes, 13 seconds. That's the bench. The starters, Chris, 38 minutes. Bobby, 36 minutes. Brook, just shy of 31 minutes. Dame, just shy of 35 minutes. And Beverly, just shy of 40 minutes. So to me, looking at the bench, it was a 7-man rotation. It was the starters, and then it was Beasley and Connaughton for 16 minutes.
Yeah.
That was, to me, that was Doc Rivers saying, like, all right, if we're going to lose, we're going to do it with our best players on the floor. The best guys that we got.
Yep.
And my thing is I gave Dame a lot of credit for going out there.
Yeah.
To go out there and play on a bad leg. I give him credit for it. Just like I give Chris credit for the series that he played when he was kind of questionable after twisting his knee and ankle within minutes of each other.
Yeah.
And then the next game, giving the Bucks 42 points and hitting shots to send the game to overtime, to tie the game at the end of overtime. Like, there's nothing more I can say about Chris, except I am going to say more about Chris when we get into some of the implications. But other than the bench, is there anything else you wanted to say on the game itself?
The score wasn't indicative to how the game was played, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what you got. I think it was better than the score says.
I'm a little annoyed that the refs didn't even review Pascal Siakam hitting Bobby Portis in the head when he had a foul in the first quarter. It's just one of those things where it's like, why is that not being looked at all? Like, Siakam gave him one of those. Like, why are we not looking at this?
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't tell you.
Some turnovers in the first quarter. The Bucks, their offense kind of got cold. They got some second chance points, and that was about it for the offense, really. And then after that, they were kind of just playing from behind double digits. They basically floated between 10 and 15. Now
they got down to 6 at one point, and then the Pacers went on a big run. They got a couple turnovers, a couple layups, and it just kind of looked like the Bucks' spirit was just kind of like,
yeah,
I don't know if we could fight anymore, man.
They gave it one good, like, last haymaker, and after that, I kind of agree.
They've been trying to throw haymakers all year, man. It was a tough year for the Bucks.
Yep.
I mean, and the media did not help. Getting Dame, and then getting Dame put a lot of pressure on them in the first place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then and then all the coaching stuff, and you were there. We talked about it, all the nuanced stuff that happened, and it's just like it was just a lot to deal with, man.
It's the perfect way to just tie this in. We're not going to go into like a full, like what do we want to see them do, all the personnel and everything. We're strictly only going to talk about what comes from losing this game. And the way that you just said this, that it's been a tough year, that's a perfect way for me to tie it into what we're doing at Wisco Fanatics. So the way that we're doing this is, we've talked about it, it's the optimistic, positive perspective. Here's the thing about optimism as it relates to Game 6, as it relates to now for the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not practicing it all season, Game 6 isn't the day that we're going to get you. We're not going to get you on a season elimination game where the Bucks lose and their season's over. That's not the day that Wisco Fanatics is going to swoop in and be like, "Hey, be positive." Like, it's not going to be what flips the switch.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make this promise. If you already do follow us, if you've seen our stuff but don't follow us, if you follow us but don't watch our live shows, if you follow us but can't watch our live shows and don't listen to the audio, if you've considered doing anything with any of our content, I'm going to make this promise. I'm going to make this promise for Brewers season, and I'm going to make this promise for next Bucks season, and just for our other teams that we discuss. If you're a fan of those other teams, I'm going to work to try to build that foundation during the seasons to get to the point that Jake and I are at, with when the season ends, we are disappointed, not in the players, but that the season is over and we don't get more of them.
Yeah.
Because that's my biggest thing. My biggest thing is that I'm sad that we didn't get to see Giannis anymore after April 9th. I'm not throwing fits that we need to cut players, trade players, fire people. I'm not sad about any of that. I'm not disappointed in any of that. I'm not going to throw rocks at anybody and be like, get off my team. And when the Bucks make a post about some charity thing that they're doing in May and people are like, trade Connaughton, like that's the stuff that just needs to stop. That's straight up like the Bucks are trying to do some charity thing with a hospital and people are like, trade Brook Lopez today. And it's like, dog, you got to get a life. Yeah. You got to move on. You got to be able to detach a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you this, man. So I've told you, obviously, but I'll tell the viewers. I've been listening to a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk, right? And he actually touched base on this topic. And he talked about, not getting discouraged by those kind of people. And he said, really, you have to give those kind of people empathy, because think about how sad their life is, that the Bucks are trying to do something good for the community, for a hospital of all places. And instead of focusing on the positives in life, like trying to help people, they go and they put their personal feelings ahead of that and say, trade this guy. Okay, first of all, I got to tell you that you do not have the mental capacity to understand basketball, because you're missing the entire point of this post.
Right.
Okay. So that's the first step. And the second step is get off the internet for a few days after this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even kidding when I say that. I'm being so serious.
Oh, yeah.
Stay away from social media if you are going to be a bag of shit.
Yep.
Like, I'm sorry if I cut you off, but I'm going to go on a little rant real quick. Get away from social media. It's not good for you. You're already in a bad mental place. Like, we are in the middle of mental health month right now.
Yep.
And I take this very seriously. I'm not messing around with this. If you are in a bad place mentally, yes, literally a touch grass moment. I agree, James. Like, that's on a little bit of a lighter tone than I'm going for right now, so I appreciate that. But if you're in a bad place mentally, the internet's not going to make you feel better. Just like watching the news, the 5 o'clock news is not going to make you feel better. They sell fear. They're going to tell you this guy died, this guy got shot, they raised this price on this, this is over here, they're doing construction over here, all the stuff you don't want to hear. Do not turn on the news if you're in a bad mood. It's just going to make it worse.
Let me add one other thing to your point about if that's how you're going to be and you're just going to go spout your feelings.
Yes.
I get to a point that you need to be able to vent frustration somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Our suggestion would be to find a healthy way to deal with that.
Yeah.
Just throw that out there.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm promised that I'm going to work on trying to like help people adapt to a more optimistic mindset throughout the season, to get to a point where you can still have, a level-headed mindset when the season ends.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm going to try to work on to try to help people with. But you people got to realize the amount, that obviously social media is literally a digital gathering place. But when you take your shitty attitude to social media and you're like, okay, I'm just doing it because I need to vent. I'm just going to Twitter because I need to vent. I'm just going on a Facebook group because I need to vent.
Yeah.
You people have to realize other people are going to see that.
They're getting affected by it.
That's exactly where I'm going with that, is you are going to possibly affect other people.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be looking at a person who's teetering on the fence and they're like, man, like I just, kind of numb, not really knowing how I feel. And then the top 8 things they see are fuck this, trade Giannis, trade Dame, fire Doc, trade Connaughton, cut this person. I don't want to see Beverly ever again in a Bucks uniform. And that's all the things they see. What side of the fence do you think they're going to teeter on?
Very true.
Now, I'm not saying that we are the only voice of positivity out there, but I can tell you we are the most active voice of positivity in Wisconsin sports. I'm not shy to say that. I think that's 100% factual.
I mean, dude, we come out here at least once a week.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, more than once a week. We show our faces, and there's people that, talk shit to us, give us bad negativity, but we don't care. Yep. We had a moment last night where we were talking, and we just want to be happy, man, and we want to enjoy sports and be happy at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to get too much into it because you're going to release something, and just be happy, man. I mean, life is great, and honestly, to piggyback off of something that you said, go find a hobby, man. I mean, some of you people got kids. You don't even see your kids. Go see your kids. Go play video games. We see those funny videos online, right? Like when an NFL team loses, and all of a sudden they'll show the team, and I have to let steam out, and you hear the, and they're up 700-0. It's like, go do that rather than spread your shitty attitude all over the place and make everybody else in a bad mood. We don't want to deal with it, okay? I'm not dealing with it. Tyler's not dealing with it. Wisco Fanatics is not dealing with it. And we're going to be here to shit all over you for shitting all over everybody else. That's what we're here for.
And again, we had this discussion towards the end of the Bucks regular season that people are like, oh, how about now? Are you still positive now? It's like, yes. It's not going to change. It's not going away. We've talked about it, and this is part of the reason why we do it, is that we've been able to relate the way that we've focused on Wisconsin sports from a more positive and optimistic perspective,
right?
That it translates to life. It's not like we're only doing this for sports and then going into life and being like, God, everything sucks. Like, that's not it. Who you are seeing on this show, that's who we are.
And I've actually had people tell me that I was being cocky about, the way that I carry myself. No, I'm speaking with conviction. There's a very big difference. Okay. I carry myself the way that I am because I'm happy in my own skin. I'm happy about being a positive person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy about the way that I think about sports. And if you choose, and I'm not going to name names because I remember the name. If you choose to be a POS, you go ahead. Okay. I'm not going to let that affect me.
Yeah.
Tyler's known me for a long time. There's not a lot of stuff that are going to change how I talk.
Yeah, and that's something we try to impress on some of the people that follow us and some of the people that we interact with, is not giving your energy to the people that are going to go onto social media and just want to burn everything to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And James is making a comment on a real issue, and he said this is going to sound dark, but try to never be somebody's 13th reason why. That's essentially saying not to be like the straw that breaks the camel's back, and the frame of reference that he's making is suicide. And I'm not saying that sports negativity is going to drive somebody to commit suicide, but you have to realize that if all somebody is seeing every time they scroll onto social media is a snowball of negativity, and they're in 2 Milwaukee Bucks groups and they're just scrolling through their timeline and they're seeing negative stuff on their timeline, and then they see 2 posts from a Bucks group and it's somebody saying everything sucks and the Bucks are literally never going to win anything with this roster. They need to blow it up and do a complete rebuild. And then the next post they see is just F and 3 asterisks and Pat Connaughton in all caps. Like that stuff is it's just more weight to carry. That is more negativity.
Yeah.
So,
damn. Jeez, James.
It's a real thing, and if there's ever going to be a time to talk about it, it's during Mental Health Month.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm okay with taking a couple minutes to have a real discussion and talk about life in general as we've gotten down a rabbit hole as far as a sports game is concerned.
Right.
Now, yep. No, you're good.
No,
James,
you're
like
good.
I said, if there's
You're
a time
good,
to talk about it, it's during the month of May. And when the show is over, I'm going to go make the post. Wisco Fanatics is going to have a post every single day during the month of May for Mental Health Awareness Month. Every day.
Yeah.
So going back to where the Bucks are on the implications of the Game 6 loss, we know it needs to improve. They need to get better in transition defense. They just need to have better communication defensively.
Yep.
Now we're going into an offseason where Doc is going to get a full offseason. The young guys are going to get to develop. They're going to reload, and they're going to get back.
Yep.
Dame and Giannis are already making plans to work out together in the offseason. Giannis is going to Portland to work with Dame in his new house that he's got.
Yep.
So that's happening. Then just looking at it, I'm going to say, even though he struggled in Game 6, I am still interested in bringing Patrick Beverley back, even though there's some stuff going on with the after the game stuff.
Yep.
I'm just going to leave it at how he described it. He said there was more than just the Cancun on 3 things being said to him, which I think you can kind of assume where he's going with that.
The police are investigating it. Did you see that?
Did you see what?
The Indianapolis police are investigating the situation.
Yeah, I saw.
That's how serious it's gotten.
Yeah. So I'm going to just leave that until it's resolved. I'm just going to leave that be. If we're talking strictly basketball, I am interested in bringing Patrick Beverley back.
I agree.
Then, is there anything else you want to say on implications? Because I'm going to cook on Chris Middleton for a little bit just to make people who whined about him feel stupid.
So I do have a question for you.
Okay.
So it seems every time the Bucks lose or they come up short and they don't win the title, because they're supposed to win the title every year with Giannis because nobody else has a superstar in the league.
Yep.
It seems like there's a trade rumor. Giannis trade here. Giannis trade here. Giannis sign here. Then he ends up just coming back to the Bucks.
Which he literally did last season.
Wondering, is it just Giannis? You know, a lot of people in America think that Jokic is the best player in the league. They're down 0-2 in the playoffs. I have yet to see a post about Jokic leaving Denver.
Yeah.
Where's that post? Where's SportsCenter? Where's Stephen A. Smith talking about that? Where's Stephen A. Smith talking about, and a guy that we love, Jamal Murray, acting like a fool? He didn't throw one thing on the court. He threw 2 things on the court. I ain't hear him talking about Jokic has got to get out of there, man. Jamal Murray's acting a fool over there. No. They only do that to the Bucks for some reason.
It's a smaller market. I mean, Denver is not a huge market, but it's bigger than Milwaukee.
Yeah, I really don't care about that, honestly. I just think that it's laughable at this point.
It is.
There is one thing I wanted to bring up, and you know what I want to bring up. Do you care if I name his name? Can I say his name?
Go ahead.
Okay. I don't even know how to say his last name, but I don't really give a shit because I don't give a shit about this guy anymore. I just think that he's an asshole, honestly. He's an asshole of followers.
He's human clickbait. I'm okay with saying that.
How do you say his last name? Is Nathan Marzan?
I think it's Marzan, yeah.
Marzan, okay? So if any of you follow him, you can share this. I don't care. I'd love to have him on here to talk some real basketball.
Yeah, I'd have a conversation.
Yeah, and I agree with that, Michael. He posted. I can't believe that he ranted the entire first half of the year about trading Bobby Portis. Watch Bobby Portis not get traded. Watch Bobby Portis dominate.
After the All-Star
break.
break.
Is talking about it after he struggled a few games.
No, you know what's crazy is that he didn't talk about it for February, March, and April.
Yeah, true. But he put up a post after the Bucks lost. Immediately after the Bucks lost. He didn't waste time. He was thinking about this. This is the kind of stuff that we're trying to get rid of. Okay?
Yep.
I don't want you to be thinking about this during the game. Or 2 days before the game. I don't want you to be thinking about it at all.
I don't care.
He made a post where you can vote. Would you rather trade Bobby? No. I'm sorry. You don't find 3-level scorers that are tough guys in 6'10 that love the city of Milwaukee. I think people have really forgotten how far we've come.
Yep.
People used to actively avoid Milwaukee. Yep. JJ Redick is one of them.
Yep.
So he's a very recent player.
Yep.
He hated Milwaukee. He did not want to be here.
I think Tobias Harris did too.
Well, and then, you think about Malcolm Brogdon. He wanted to get out of here too. He hated Milwaukee too. Bobby loves Milwaukee. That does not happen. Okay? Giannis loves Milwaukee. Probably why we all laugh and think that he's not leaving, right?
Yep.
He said, trade Bobby, trade Brooke. Hell no. He has like 1 more year on his contract. What are we doing? Or trade neither. And another one was trade both. I literally commented on there because I was reading the comments and I was like, I'm not shocked at how little people understand basketball and how to build a roster. You think this is 2K? That's not how this works, dude. You don't just get I'm gonna trade this guy for this guy. I mean, I literally saw people talking about signing Nick Claxton. We don't have money for Nick Claxton. He's 25.
Dude, save the roster stuff. Stick with the post. Save the roster stuff for early June because that's when we're gonna do it.
I've seen so much. I'm like, oh my god. So I literally commented on there. I said, if you chose to trade either of these human beings, you really need to learn ball. And that's all I needed to say. Everything I needed to say, I said in 60 characters, and that was it. And I left because I was like, if I keep reading comments, my head is going to explode. And I just couldn't believe that a guy who's a Bucks fan, real Bucks fans, I'm so happy. This is just a little side tangent that I put on here to remind me. I'm so happy that there's a post floating around the internet about the Bucks in 2013. So people can really remember what the hell it was like to be a real Bucks fan. We were like 6 games under 500 that year, snuck into the playoffs as an 8 seed, and got our ass spanked by the Heatles back then. LeBron, Wade, Bosh. Remember those Heat? They were good. They kicked our ass.
So did the Bulls.
Monte Ellis was a star here. Think about that.
We used to think Luke Richard Mbamute was a legit player.
That was our stopper. That was our POA.
He was good on defense.
He was good on defense.
That was it.
Airball mid-range jumpers. Hey, the Prince. Don't disrespect the Prince. I appreciate Luke Richard, but come on now, let's be real. Think how far we've come and how entitled you people have become.
Yeah. So I want to say something just on the post that you're specifically talking about, and then I'm going to get to James's comments and then my Chris Middleton thing that I want to give out. Is that type of post, and this is where I would come out with the human clickbait thing. And like I said, if this person would come onto our show, I would have a face-to-face as face-to-face as we can get conversation that this post isn't as much about what you think the Bucks should be doing as it is about, 1, getting engagement, and 2, just going to stir the pot. That's what it was to me.
Yeah.
That it was this person who has a large following because this person's also on the radio and they do other things as far as sports are concerned, just going onto Twitter and just being like, how can I stir the pot that's going to get the most engagement? That is the type of clickbait that Jake and I do not put out. We just don't. The NFL draft is a good example. After the Packers picked Jordan Morgan in the first round, you're not going to see us going on Facebook and posting, how could they do this? How could they pass up Cooper DeJean? How could they come be angry with us because it's going to get us clicks? We are not going to do that. And unfortunately, because of the way the world works, it's going to make us grow a little slower. We understand that, though. And here's the thing is that we've talked about this a lot. It shows up in the engagement that we have on our posts is that our followers, they are appreciative of what we are doing, and we appreciate that they appreciate what we are doing.
Yeah.
That makes me proud to be on this show, to have this logo that's got the 4 mics on it for the Wisconsin sports teams with the outline of Wisconsin. It makes me proud to wear that logo. And I am Wisco Fanatics. You know, my best friend and I host a podcast that's about Wisconsin sports from an optimistic and positive perspective.
Bro, I gotta get this shit tatted, man.
James is a Celtics, Red Sox, Saints fan. James watches our show all the time. I shouldn't say all the time.
Being a good person.
He watches it once in a while, at least, because he comments when he does.
He's been here for like a month straight, at least.
So James on Jake's comments about Giannis and Jokic, he said, you know what's funny is Jokic is what wrestling fans would consider a baby face. It's hard for people to hate him because he's loved by the NBA community, so nobody really trashes him.
Yeah.
And I'll say his championship is fresher than the Bucks. So now that the Bucks, you know, have this other superstar and they're like, oh, why haven't the Bucks gotten back? It's like, okay, you know, here we are. We're back to, we need to get Giannis out of Milwaukee so that he can be a superstar in a big market.
And, you know, I'm not trying to trash on Jokic either. I'm really trying to trash the media.
It's the media. It's absolutely the media.
I'm just so sick and tired of that bullshit.
And you can probably make a poll of Bucks fans, and you would accurately get who the two biggest problems and probably the 3 biggest problems are. I guarantee you, if I gave you 3 guesses, you could name all 3 without getting a single strike.
Do you want me to name them from like actual biggest problem or from their actual size?
You mean like the physical size?
Yeah.
They're all 3 of them are problems. 2 of them are larger, literally and figuratively problems than the other one. But yes, I'm confident you could name all 3 in any order you wanted to.
I could. I mean, we don't need to do that. Do you want me to do that?
If you want to.
I mean, Windhorse, idiot. Yep. Guy literally has no neck. I don't know.
He literally is here to beat the drum for New York and LA.
Yeah. Like we speak positivity, but like when you talk the way that you talk all the time, like you kind of deserve a little shit talk.
When you're constantly wrong too.
Yeah. Perkins, I mean, I couldn't even tell you one reason why that guy's on TV. I just don't know. God, there's such a list. And obviously Stephen A. Smith.
Those are the 3.
He's a pretty big Milwaukee hater in general. He's been booed the last couple of years. I mean, and then think about people like Paul Pierce. Like, why does that guy have a platform? It just makes 0 sense.
That dude thinks he's better than Dwayne Wade.
Like, he does. Come on now. Exactly.
Okay. Sorry, James, not to be trashing former Celtics or anything, but I would be confident that you would say that you know that Dwayne Wade is better than Paul Pierce. James's other comment said, dude, last year our entire fan base was on the trade Peyton Pritchard. He's a liability. He doesn't add anything. Now he's loved on the court, and I'm sitting back like, this is why you don't give up on people. And that's it. And it's a really, really tough thing to make the decision on when to move on from certain players. And that's the really, really hard part about doing it from our perspective, is that we have to have conversations when it's time to move on from certain players. And we'll have that discussion when we're going to talk about the Bucks roster specifically, like I said, probably in early June.
Yep.
But we've gone to some of these conversations, and I'm straight up at it. We're not having any more bad talk about Chris Middleton ever.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
It should be done. Completely done. Michael asked, have you noticed the defense the Wolves are playing in the playoffs? Their wing athleticism and length have caused problems for both the Suns and so far against the Nuggets. I'd love for the Bucks to get back to that style of D. Just saying. And I agree with you. The Timberwolves defense has been insane. I love it. It's really fun to watch. As far as the Bucks are concerned, though, their problems since winning the championship haven't been defensively. It's been offense. That's what's been their problems since winning the championship. That's what caused them to lose to Boston. That's what caused them to lose to Miami, and it's what caused them to lose to Indiana. It's just not enough offense. So I get the want for wanting to play that style, but it's just not what the Bucks have been missing, in my opinion.
I will say, though, Michael, that's what makes a guy like Cam Reddish very attractive to the Bucks. He would fit right in on the roster. Put him on the wing. He's a long guy that can jump some passing lanes, and he can run on the break. We need to add one or two guys. We're going to get into that later in June. We need to add some people to run on the break with Giannis and Dame.
Let me throw Royce O'Neal out there. It's just another name that could be.
I like Royce O'Neal. His game is comparable to what we need too. A 3-and-D guy that can run.
Absolutely. That's what the Sixers got in Kelly Oubre this year. That was a really nice pickup by them.
I would love him on the Bucks.
Yeah. James said Perkins is a hater of everyone. He only gets respect from me because of his ring with Boston. His 5 points. And no truth slander. James, Dwayne Wade's my favorite player, so you know I'm going to give you truth slander. Dwayne Wade's a better all-time player than Paul Pierce.
James, I can't call him the truth when every time he talks, he lies. It's an oxymoron.
He's a walking paradox. That's funny. Michael said Oubre is a free agent. I think he is because I think he was just on a 1-year deal with Philly. But his role is pretty cemented there. Like they're going to max out Tyrese Maxey, and obviously they still have Embiid. Which, if we're talking about players that haven't been discussed on needing to be out of where they are, Joel Embiid has never made it past the second round.
And you know the thing about Joel Embiid that I was thinking about a couple weeks ago is he might, and I think I said it on here, or I just said it to you. Either way, he honestly, and I'm not trying to just get him out of the league, he's been so banged up for so long. You want to be able to have a life outside of basketball. You know, this is only like a section of his life. He's making life-changing money, right? But he might need to think about retiring. At some point, you want to be able to walk. You know what I'm saying? So
not have to have a cane for the rest of your life.
He needs to really give that a real thought.
Yeah, not saying it needs to be this off season, but he might have like 1 or 2 more runs, and then
you can't keep tearing your meniscus. I mean, and he's not a small guy.
He's huge. Like Giannis is tall and long, but Embiid is probably another 50 pounds.
That's why I'm bringing it up. Like, dude. Yeah. You're not going to be able to walk in 20 years if you keep tearing everything and need this replaced and this replaced. And it's too much, man.
Yeah. James said Paul Pierce is my favorite all-time Celtic as far as ones I was able to watch. Wade is an all-time better player, but Pierce made his mark, hence why he's in the Hall of Fame. Not saying that Pierce isn't a great all-time player. Because
Pierce is easily on my top 5 most hated players. I'm not even going to lie to you.
Like, I recognize that he was like a large part of that Celtics team winning championship, but man, the disrespect for Dwayne Wade from Paul Pierce.
Man,
I will not tolerate.
You know I hate Karolinko, bro. Andre Karolinko, Paul Pierce, Danny Granger. Yes, these are all small forwards. I mean, those are 3 of my top 5 right away.
I feel like JJ Barea would be on your list.
I don't hate JJ Barea. I think he was a fun player.
All right.
It was fun.
Okay. So my last thing that I want to do on the Bucks to close out their season, unfortunately, sadly, before we start focusing on next season. I didn't tell Jake I was going to do this.
Uh-oh.
I have I have Chris Middleton versus Bradley Beal's playoff numbers.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I feel devious for this. And this is really fun for me to write these numbers down. Both teams lost in the first round of the playoffs. Obviously, Chris Middleton for the Bucks, the Phoenix Suns, who, when they traded for Bradley Beal, were supposed to be the, in Kendrick Perkins' words, the favorites to win the championship when that trade happened. Bradley Beal's making $46.7 million this season. Chris Middleton's making $29.3 million this season. Both are going to make more next season.
Yep.
So keep that in mind that Chris Middleton is making $17 million less while I read off these numbers. Points per game, Chris Middleton, 24.7. Bradley Beal, 16.5. Rebounds per game, Chris Middleton, 9.2. Career high, by the way. Bradley Beal, 2.8. Assists, Chris Middleton, 4.7. Bradley Beal, 4.5. Or even on that one.
Wash.
Field goal percentage, Chris Middleton, 48.2. Bradley Beal, 44.1. 3-point percentage, Chris Middleton, 35.5. Bradley Beal, 43.5. That's the only thing that Bradley Beal's gotten. He was 8% higher on threes. Good for him.
Probably
legit good for him. Not being sarcastic. That's legit good for Beal.
Okay.
Free throw percentage, Chris Middleton, 90. Bradley Beal, 80. Lastly, defensive rating, Chris Middleton, 116.9. Bradley Beal, 122.4.
I have two things to say to that. First of all, Bradley Beal's a cone. And to play off of him not guarding anybody, I'm going to go back to a comment that Kevin Durant made to start the season where he said, they can't guard all three of us. Well, Kevin, the word is in. They didn't need to guard all three of you.
I said this when the Nets put their big three together. There's one ball.
Yep.
You need to have players that have complementary skill sets, and I want to put a pin in that phrase because it's going to come back when we talk about the roster. You need to have players who have complementary skill sets. Remember
No,
that.
James, it was Kevin Durant that said that. Booker did make a comment, though. But it was Durant that said they can't guard all three of us.
Booker said, I think Booker said, who are they going to guard?
Yeah, I mean,
Booker said something very similar.
Yeah.
Something very similar. It wasn't the exact same thing, but it was something very, very similar. But looking at it, Bradley Beal versus Chris Middleton. Bradley Beal making $17 million more. And then stats, points, Middleton, rebounds, Middleton, assists, Middleton, field goal percentage, Middleton, 3-point percentage, Beal, free throw percentage, Middleton, defensive rating, Middleton. Out of the 7 categories of stats that I looked at, Chris Middleton was better than Bradley Beal in 6 of the 7 for $17 million less.
So I was misquoted. I apologize. Durant said, you can't guard all of us at once. And Booker said, respectfully, I don't know how teams are going to guard us.
That's what he said.
So it was very close. Well, Beal doesn't play any defense.
They were said is still the same.
Booker doesn't play any defense. And Kevin Durant plays half-ass defense now.
He plays defense by being tall.
People want to talk about all these people that get together to score. You know, at some point, you have to stop the other team from doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And having 2 guys that need 25 shots a game, because Durant doesn't. Durant doesn't need 25 shots to be efficient.
He needs 15.
15, he could even do it on 10 because he can shoot threes and he can get to the free throw line very easily.
True.
But you have 2 guys who are literally the same player, Booker and Beal. Why the hell would you think that's a good idea? That is not a good idea.
I said that too.
It's just not a good idea.
Because I posed the question when people are like, we should have done that deal with Middleton. It's like, you have to see this. Or people wanted to trade Drew Holiday for Bradley Beal. It's like, who's going to play point guard? You have to have a point guard. James said maybe they should have looked at the Celtics for how to play offense and defense as a team. I mean, yeah.
Coaching matters. Just going to say that, James.
True. I'm with that. And I'll say the culture, too. I mean, some of those guys have been together for a little while, where the Suns dudes, I mean, Durant and Booker had a half a season together.
Yeah.
And then they added Beal on top of it.
Yeah.
Like, you look at their 2021 roster and look at their roster today, the roster that they went to the finals with, and then look at their roster today. Yeah, it's cool. Got some big names on it. Devin Booker's the only one left.
Bro, we really destroyed that. Giannis dunked on them so hard their entire franchise is ruined.
Yeah. And now Monty Williams is coaching Detroit straight into the ground further than it already was.
Yeah. I mean, they're about to get our GM, I think, but that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Like I said, probably in early June. That's when we'll start focusing on the 2024-2025 Bucks season.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, you ready to move on to some baseball?
Yes, sir.
All right. moving on to baseball, the Milwaukee Brewers, who are now going to be the focal point of our Wednesday shows and our Patreon watch parties, because that's what's probably going to be the big thing during the summertime, unless people get nuts and they decide they want to watch some preseason with us, which I wouldn't say no to, but I'd be a little bit like, okay.
Are you a psychopath?
I might be, but I mean, that's neither here nor there. So we're going to get into our power pairs and underrated performers. So Jake, hit me with your Brewers power pair from the Royals and Cubs series.
All right. So my power pair position player, that is a mouthful to say every week, is Oliver Dunn. I don't have his stats added in for today, but coming into today, played 6 games, 15 at-bats, 5 hits, 3 runs, a triple, an RBI, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. He's slashing .333 on the average, .375 on the on-base percentage, a .467 on the slug, and an .842 on the OPS. So very good week for him. He continues to play good enough to elite defense at times. He has good reaction time, in my opinion, but he's been a pretty good player for us. And, you know, I wanted to pick him because he's a hot topic because of, you know, a player that was sent down to AAA. And I don't think you could have been wrong by sending either one, but I understand the reasoning for keeping Dunn. Once Yelly is able to play a little bit more left field, because he's going to be DHing for a while now, for a little bit, I think, till the back is better. Once he's able to play some left field, you know, in the dog days of summer, as I love to say every single season, I think we could see Tyler Black up and Oliver Dunn sent back down if Dunn goes into a slump.
Or I think when, you know, well, another 2 or 3 weeks from now when Garrett Mitchell is healthy, I think that's when people who are still complaining about Jake Bauers, I think that's when, if he's not performing to the level that the Brewers want, that Jake Bauers could be let go.
Yep, I agree.
But it's gonna need one more outfielder before we're sending utility guys down instead of guys who specialize in one position. So as much as I love Tyler Black and was conflicted about Yelich being back, I understand it.
Yeah,
Tyler Black's gonna be back.
He will. He's not staying down AAA. But it'll be good for him to get back into the thick of things.
Consistency.
And, get back to swinging a hot bat. But my pitcher that I chose, my power position pitcher this week, is Trevor McGill. 2 games, 2 saves, 2 innings pitched, and 2 Ks. So I like all those 2s. Nice. And then I like all these zeros. A 0 whip, 0 walks, 0 hits. That's what whip means. And 0 earned runs. Good stuff.
Trevor McGill is a good pick.
He's been pretty good. He's been pretty good this year.
He's been pretty good just in general.
Yeah, he's been mixing in a curveball. So, I mean, that's good for him.
His curveball is nasty. If he's throwing that thing for strikes.
I was almost going to get into stuff that we talked about last night, but I'm trying not to let too much go from the Patreon because I want people to come check us out, man. Seriously, it's a good time. We have fun, and we flex the knowledge. Bryce Wilson was my underrated performer this week. He had a start, and he went 6 innings, 1 hit, 0 earned runs, 3 walks, and 6 Ks. So that's a quality start if you didn't know. He had a 0.67 whip and a 0 ERA. Now, I want to dive deep real quick. The thing that I loved about his start, and we could talk more about this when we get to the game, I thought his curveball was tremendous. His curveball was tremendous. He backdoored 4 or 5 of them, to lefties, and it was just like, yeah, he's cooking right now. That's his 3rd most used pitch. He has a 15.1-inch break on that curveball at 81 miles per hour. The most used pitch that he has is a sinker, which also has 15.1 inches of break, but that one's at 94. So you have the same break at 13 mile per hour difference. If he can control the curveball, he could be like a secret MVP for this team.
Yeah,
seriously,
like an unsung hero. Unsung hero.
Yeah, I agree.
Michael said, I don't understand the Wilson hate on fan sites. He's been good or better than I expected. What else can he do? I don't know. And we had this discussion last year that he was like a really just reliable pitcher.
Yeah.
He's not going to put up sexy numbers. He's not going to be on Pitching Ninja every other appearance. Yeah. But similar to Colin Ray, like when he goes out and pitches, you're going to have a chance to win, bottom line. And when you're talking about guys who are going to be, some not necessarily cheap but like bargain bin players. When the Brewers are grabbing these guys and they're keeping you in games and giving you chances to win games, why is there any complaining here?
Never mind.
There should be none. There should be no complaints about Bryce Wilson. That was a great pick, and I was hoping I was going to be able to sneak him past Jake. So, good pick, Dick. But I want to give.
You got to say it twice to me today,
huh? It's a love-hate relationship we have.
Yeah.
So I don't like you for taking the guy that I wanted to pick because it was a good pick.
I respect it.
So you're smart, but I hate you for it.
Thank you.
Okay. So I picked Joey Ortiz. He was 2 for 7 last week. That's a 286 batting average. Also had a walk. He's playing some fantastic defense, which some of it happened last night, flashing the leather a bit, and Reggie enjoys it. Some of the reactions to Joey Ortiz playing defense at third base last night, Jake and I had live when we were on the Patreon, and it's like, damn, just seeing some of the plays that he's making at third base. I get why people are complaining that Oliver Dunn is getting playing time over him in certain matchups. But, I mean, Oliver Dunn's not playing poorly.
No.
And Joey Ortiz, they're platooning him a little bit. And I don't think you have to, just because he's young, force him to play every day.
I actually have thoughts on that. Remember last year when they played Bryce Terang all year, all the time, because his defense was so good? It was like, man, the Brewers defense was so good last year. They won the team gold glove.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know that was a thing until today. So thank you to Vinny Rottino. Shout out. But you can't just keep a guy in the lineup because he's playing good defense. That's how you kill his confidence at the plate. So I actually respect them for putting him in favorable matchups so he sees some good pitches and still gets playing time.
Do you want me to give you another player that proves your point to a point?
What's that?
Joey Wiemer.
Yeah.
Last season's Joey Wiemer is the exact same situation.
So people are complaining that we played Joey Wiemer and Bryce Terang last year because they couldn't hit, quite frankly.
They batted like 210.
But now you're going to complain because Joey Ortiz is getting platooned.
Yeah.
I don't know what people want anymore.
I think, and I'll say this to the point of platooning guys like this, is it gives you opportunities to help them like just continue to go through the processes, but also focus on the process of development as well.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Without just being like, here, develop on the fly in the games as you're playing them.
Yeah. Not always.
It gives you a chance to coach them more hands-on by having them in the dugout a little bit more. And here we are, just offering a different perspective other than this guy's playing well. Why isn't he playing every single day, 9 innings a game, 162 games a year?
Yeah.
There's very rare players that are doing that. William Contreras is going to be one of them, and that's why we keep talking about him as an MVP candidate.
Yeah.
You got to get to a point where like you're doing everything right before you're going to play every single day.
I agreed.
So my last thing on Joey Ortiz. He is on an 8-game on-base streak. That was my last thing that I had on Joey Ortiz. My power pitcher, I went with Hobie Milner. He pitched 4 innings, made 3 appearances, gave up 3 hits, 0 walks, 0 runs, and 6 strikeouts. I'm gonna have a clip from our watch party last night that we did, where Jake and I are watching the game on the Patreon watch party, and we're talking about Hobie Milner and how he's going through his sequence, and we're talking about, I'm thinking he's gonna go with a high fastball, and Jake's like, I think you pitch him inside, and Hobie Milner throws a high and inside fastball, and the guy follows it off, and Jake and I are talking about the put away pitch, and we're in agreement that like we're going to throw a low outside breaking ball, and he throws a low and outside slider, and the dude strikes out, and Jake and I are just like, here we go. We should be doing this every day. Every day.
Every day. We just called the pitch sequence. No big deal.
And like I said, Jake said it too. There's going to be people that know more than us, but we know stuff. Come know stuff with us. Watch games with us. Hang out with us during games. It's fun.
Facts.
And you might learn something. Hobie Milner has not given up an earned run since April 14th.
Knock on wood. Let's keep that alive.
There it is. My underrated performer. So after Jake stole mine, I had to pivot, and I went with Pat Murphy, actually. honorable mention to Gary Sanchez because I think I could have gone with him today too. So Pat Murphy, the way he maneuvered through last night's game, and we talked about this in the post-game show after last night, the way he maneuvered through last night with essentially having 3.5 outfielders to work with. I'm counting Bowers as a half of an outfielder because that's like his secondary position.
Mm-hmm.
And having it work essentially flawlessly to deliver a win needs credit given. So we got to a scenario where Andrew Monasterio ended up playing left field for 2 innings last night and making a catch in left field. Pat Murphy needs to be given some credit for that, for having that work out. Then just looking more broadly, for the Brewers to lose 2 of 3 at Wrigley and at Kansas City and still to not have relinquished first place, playing without Devin Williams, without Christian Yelich, without Garrett Mitchell, Pat Murphy suspended for 2 games through the 35 games, now 36 games of the season. It's impressive.
It is.
And we're talking about some reinforcements coming in the next couple weeks here. If Jacob Junis can get back, DL Hall, obviously Christian Yelich came back today, so I'm not going to expect, prime Christian Yelich the way that he was batting when he got his back injury back up. But, once he's back up to speed, getting Devin Williams back, having Abdi Uribe back when he's done with his suspension, and just having guys back, being able to be more picky with some of the guys you're picking up, sending down, and who's playing every day.
Yeah.
So credit to Pat Murphy. I wanted to give him some love for that. So let's jump into the Cubs series. Cubs game 1. What stood out to you from that first game?
Well, felt good to fly the L for one day. Just got to start with that, right?
For sure.
Joe Ross, really, really good outing for him. He going into this game, he's coming off an outing where he played against the Padres and gave up 9 hits.
I love this Joe Ross outing. You can keep going, but I'm gonna flex on myself.
Okay, now I'm like waiting for you to talk. I want to hurry up.
Joe Ross. I'm so glad you started with Joe Ross because I texted you about this, and I'm like, after Joe Ross was taken out of this game, I'm like, bro, people need to listen to me. Because Joe Ross did exactly what I said he needed to do 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, and there was 2 appearances in between that. I said Joe Ross needs to set up low, use his fastballs high, and throw more sliders. What does he do this game? He does a good job keeping his fastballs high, his breaking stuff low, and he threw more sliders. And I'm like, bro, I'm the smartest man in the world today.
I remember that conversation.
He did this, and then he has a stud outing. He threw 33 sliders and 25 fastballs. He threw more sliders and fastballs, and I'm like, that's what I said he needs to do. He needs to throw more sliders. He threw more sliders. He pitched 6 innings, gave up 6 hits, had 1 earned run, and 4 strikeouts.
Yeah. He was fantastic in my opinion. And to the level that I expect him to be at, that's what he was. He was a good pitcher. Got us through 6 innings.
Every single time he pitches.
Yeah, agreed.
I'd take that from any pitcher, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Peguero, the 1 earned run in 6 innings, hell yeah. Peguero, 1 inning pitch, 1 hit for him, no earned runs, no walks, no Ks. Payamps, the same thing. 1 inning, 1 hit, 0 walks, 0 earned runs, 0 Ks. And McGill comes in, gets the save, 1 inning, 0 hits, 0 earned runs, 0 walks. Obviously, I told you he didn't have any walks or earned runs or hits.
Mm-hmm.
He gave a couple of hits, but and 1 K, so he was tremendous. So Joey Ortiz had a triple in this one. Your pair player. Stolen bases in this one. Things got interesting. Just gonna say that. Adames, he's up to 5. Bowers is up to 2. Contreras is up to 3. Black got his first, and Churio is up to 6. RBIs in this one were Contreras, Adames, and Bowers with 2 outs. Churio stole the base after he got a hit, scored off a Contreras single to left field. He was, and this is the thing that I texted you. The reason why I think that he belongs in the MVP discussion is because it doesn't matter what he did during that day. When he had to perform, he performed. He was 0 for 3 going into this at bat. And in this at bat, he was in a 2-2 count. It was the 5th pitch that he saw, and it was the 5th slider that he saw, and he ended up getting a hit off of it to left field. This is in the top of the 8th. So Contreras ties the game for the Brewers. They were down 1-0 at this point. Contreras then steals a base. Now, if you're paying attention, this is going to become a trend.
Mm-hmm.
Adames singled to center. That was a sinker, the 7th pitch of his at-bat. They were working the counts. It was also a 2-2 count. Adames single, takes the lead for the Brewers. Adames then steals second base. Again, trends are coming. And the trend you're going to see here is Bauers hits a single to center on a 2-2 count and the 5th pitch that he saw on the at-bat.
Then what?
The Brewers are now up 3-1 at this point. I'm uncontrollably laughing. I don't know what's happening anymore. I know Chicago is mad. This is the day that Chicago, at a baseball game, I mind you, a baseball game, we're chanting the Packers suck. And these people have the goddamn audacity to go on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, doesn't matter, and be like, rent-free. You guys are what people see on Google when you think of rent-free. You think
you're chanting about a team that sucks that doesn't even play in the same city of the baseball team that's beating you right now.
Seriously. I didn't even connect that top, but seriously.
And then they win the next 2 games, and we're back to Brewers got 0 championships. Didn't win the series. We're going all the way. Like 2 days ago, you were chanting Green Bay sucks as your coping mechanism.
And they were throwing Counsell under the bus badly.
And Albert Alzolay, the pitcher who gave up these 3 runs.
Yeah, so it was pretty bad. 4 stolen bases in the inning were the most for the Brewers since 2016, I believe it was, right?
August 14th, 2016.
August 20th. So that's all I got. I thought this game was super fun, and it was hilarious to watch Chicago fans just melt down all over the internet.
It was fun. Like Chicago, like only Chicago fans can. Jake, you mentioned it. You didn't state it explicitly, but the 4 hits that the Brewers had, all 4 of them came with 2 strikes. 4 2-strike hits and 4 stolen bases in that inning.
That's insanity.
That is insanity. So we talked about Joe Ross. Joey Weimer, his leg slipped out. He kind of hyperextended, hurt his knee. He's going to be out for 2 to 3 weeks. The Brewers outfield depth is being tested a little bit. And this is where Jake Bauers' versatility is coming in useful. And like I said, probably for about the next 2 or 3 weeks, now that Christian Yelich is healthy, then if Garrett Mitchell and Joey Weimer are going to be on about a similar timeline now, looking at the 2 to 3 weeks from this first game against the Cubs. And the last thing that I want to say, and it didn't just happen in this game, but we really, really, really need the AAA ball strike challenge rule brought to Major League Baseball. And I said this during our watch party last night. When that happens, Tyler Black is going to be a menace. And I believe that he is capable of leading Major League Baseball in on-base percentage because his plate discipline is so good that I believe that Tyler Black can see balls and strikes better from a batter's box than about 30% of Major League Baseball umpires can see from behind the plate. That's how good Tyler Black's plate discipline is. And he got rung up several times on this road trip on pitches that if you go and look at them, were outside the strike zone.
Yeah, he had 8 strikeouts on the week, but I was looking at that number. I was like, I can guarantee you at least half of those don't belong there.
I would say about
at least half.
Yep. Because, I mean, if you look at it, it's not all just the strike threes that can be, attested to that.
Yep.
But also throwing, how many of them are strike 1 or strike 2 that are called outside the strike zone, which then has to force you to change your approach. And then you're swinging at pitches that you don't want to swing at because you don't want to get rung up on a pitch that's off the zone just because a pitch earlier in the at-bat was called a strike outside the zone.
Yep. I agree with you.
So we need the ball strike challenge rule in Major League Baseball. And when it happens, Tyler Black should be up that day, and he is going to wreck.
I agree.
He's going to be a monster when it happens. Okay. Game 2, the Brewers, they gave it a run in the 7th inning. They gave it a shot. They were down 4-0 and got down to the 5th inning, down 5-0, but they just couldn't push the tying run across. They had the tying run in the 9th inning also in scoring position, just couldn't get them across. They were able to get to a 5-3 to a 5-4, and then, like I said, they got to a point where they were 6-5. Just couldn't get the tying run across the plate. This was also Brian Hudson's first earned run since April 8th. The second time in 2024 that he has given up an earned run.
Yeah,
he's given up literally 2 earned runs the entire season so far.
So I actually have a screenshot from his at bat with Patrick Wisdom, where Patrick Wisdom ended up pushing that insurance run across.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the one that's circled right there was called a strike. Was called a ball. Does that look like a ball to you?
It's the shape of the ball.
That looks pretty firmly in the square. Pretty firmly in there.
Yeah, it felt like the Brewers were on the road all week.
Yeah, it was bad, man. I raised the
So Hudson had gone 9 straight appearances without giving up a run before this game. In 6 of those 9, he hadn't given up a single hit.
Yeah.
So over his last 9 appearances coming to this game, 12 innings of 3 hit, 4 walk, 14 strikeout relief. Literally had twice as many strikeouts as he had walks and hits combined in his last 12 innings.
I like it.
Brian Hudson has been locked down. Nothing short of it.
Yeah, he's been really good.
And then I wanted to give some love to Blake Perkins in this game. He hit his 4th home run in 109 plate appearances, the same number of home runs that he had in 168 plate appearances in 2023.
Yeah, I like it. That at bat, I actually wrote down that at bat. That at bat was absolutely phenomenal. He was down 0-2 in that at bat. He then hit 2 foul balls to stay alive, 3 consecutive balls, got the count to full, got a 4-seamer right down Main Street and just took it for a ride. And I was like, "Atta boy." That made it 5-3, and then all of a sudden the Cubs fans were like,
"Yeah,
are we gonna do it 2 days in a row?"
Yeah, right. I've seen this movie before.
Yeah, right.
All right, what's up to you from Game 2?
Game 2, okay, yeah, okay. So for me, what stood out to me was, first of all, the fans being unfairly criticizing Myers, in my opinion. I mean, the guy's not a major league pitcher. He's not there yet.
Right.
Does he have some good stuff? Yeah. Does he need more seasoning? 100% he does.
Yeah, he's been thrown into the fire.
Yeah, talk about a guy being thrown into the fire, right? He's not ready for that. I think that he definitely has a chance. Getting this experience is absolutely invaluable. You can't replace live game experience. We've talked about that plenty of times with every sport.
Let me just throw this out there. Freddie Peralta, Corbin Burns, we've seen it with other pitchers where they have these kind of back and forth years.
Mm-hmm.
Next year they come in and then they're part of the rotation and then they just get better and better and better. So there's precedent here for Tobias Myers to maybe struggle through a year and just get the experience. And then, maybe we're talking in 2025 that he's, a back of the rotation guy, and then he's just going to continue to get better. So there's precedent with guys like Corbin Burns and Freddie Peralta. I
agree with that. Koenig pitched good in this one. Milner was fantastic. Vieira and Hudson, we already touched base on that. He got screwed. Let's just call it what it is, right? Dunn was good in this one. He got the Brewers on the board with a triple to center. First pitch swinging. So we talked last night about a lot of stuff. We talked about how they needed to be more aggressive. So I wanted to write this down that he first pitch swing, got a triple to center, scored Hoskins. It was a 4-seamer. So the 4-seamer was really getting touched around in the top of the 7th here. But Perkins then homered, got the score to 3-5. Dunn scored on that home run. After that, Frelick doubled to right. Churiel scored on a throwing error. And I was like, okay. 4-5 now. I mean, things are getting serious now. Frelick saw 2 cutters. First one he let go by, and the next one he just absolutely ripped. Then you get to the top of the 9th after the Brewers got absolutely screwed on a call, in my opinion. Contreras singled to center, and Perkins ended up scoring that run as well. So, yeah, big shout-out for Blake Perkins. 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored in this one. He was very good in this game.
Touche. All right, what about Game 3?
So going into this game, the Brewers were 6-0 in games that Freddie Peralta started.
Mm-hmm.
So they never lost. I love saying that, by the way. But this was the first one, and there's always going to be a first one, and it sucks, and hopefully this is the last one. But Freddie Peralta was really struggling with the command, in my opinion, in this game. He was kind of erratic all over the place, and it wasn't really just one pitch. His curveball, he was throwing a little bit high, and I was like, buddy, you can't throw that and leak it over the plate. That's going bye-bye.
Right. Let me throw this out there because we had this conversation at times last year.
Mhm.
Freddie Peralta is throwing more changeups. It is not his strongest pitch.
Yeah.
His changeup is still very much a work in progress.
And that is so scary for how dominant this guy can be, right? But
yeah, he can be dominant just with a four-seamer slider curveball.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. But 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, 6 walks. That's a really big gaudy number for him. But the 5 Ks, I mean, I thought he battled, to be completely honest with you, with not having a great command, being on the road against the offense that should be one of the tops in the league. They have a lot of good hitters over there in Chicago. I don't want to give them credit, but they do. I mean, Nico Horner's pretty good. I mean, Dansby's pretty good. They got some guys over there. But he battled, and I respect him for battling. And you know what? Only giving up 3 earned runs, he gave the Brewers a chance to win the game after 5 innings. The Brewers just never got anything going on offense, really.
Mm-hmm.
No RBIs, 0 for 7 runners in scoring position, left 8 people on base. Contreras and Frelick had doubles. But really, other than that, it was a very quiet day offensively for the Brewers.
So I'm going to put this up because I wanted to talk about Freddie Peralta. So this is Freddie Peralta's pitch illustrator of his pitches in this game.
Yeah.
You see a lot of stuff outside the strike zone here.
Yeah.
And, this is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at Freddie Peralta, for him, not his best game.
Mm-hmm.
It was still decent, not great. Obviously, we expect more from Freddie Peralta than 5 innings pitched and 3 earned runs. But looking at the 6 walks that he allowed, it was over his last 3 starts, 2 of his last 3 starts with walks. The good thing is in this game that none of the walks scored, but what it did do is drive up his pitch count.
Yeah.
That's where I'm looking at the walks being, a problem or, an opportunity for him to be better, is to limit walks. Mm-hmm. Because then he can go deeper into games as long as umpires aren't throwing him out for hitting a batter without giving him a warning. Which that chicken's going to come home to roost.
Mm.
And then, Vieira gave up a solo shot and Jansen Junk gave up a run in 2 innings pitched. Yep. Looking at it, this series, the credit goes to the Cubs starters. Yeah. None of the Cubs starters gave up an earned run. I understand the strike zones are bad, but when we're looking at it, over the course of a season, you just have to be able to grind through that. And I get that it's a really tough thing to say, and it's probably, unfair to expect to a point. Mm-hmm. But looking at the 162 game season, it's a 3-game series. It's going to happen where you're going to have some bad strike zones. And this is potentially another reason for me to advocate for the ball strike rule challenging from the AAA to Major League Baseball. Should be, here.
Yep.
But you got to find ways to make it work when it feels like the odds are stacked against you. You got to find ways to get on base.
Yep.
And this is one of the things where I'm going to give Bryce Terang some love, is because he has changed his approach this year. Bryce Terang is using the opposite field more.
He is.
That's one of those things where you're looking at it, if you're seeing pitches that are outside the zone, but this series, these umpires, this group of umpires are calling pitches, a little loose. Even if it's one-sided, they're only calling them loose against you, which happened. Or, you're not getting the consistent strike zone that the other team's getting. Being able to shorten up the swing and use the opposite field, that's one of those things that I'd like to see more. That's how I would suggest for the Brewers to combat some what feels like unfair umpiring.
Yeah. To your credit about Bryce Terang, if you were subscribed to the Patreon, you would have heard the number last night. But I'll tell you right now, because I feeling like a nice guy. 37% of his hits are going to the opposite field. So he really is using the opposite field more, which is obviously contributing to his higher batting average, his higher on base percentage, and he's using the opportunity to steal bases 14 for 14 so far this year, knock on wood. Hopefully that continues. So he's been a real key for us.
Absolutely. Looking at the Brewers, they had 8 base runners in this game. 6 of them ended up stranded in scoring position. That's tough.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Let's move to Brewers-Royals game 1. This is from Monday. What stood out to you from Monday?
Well, first and foremost, this is where Bryce Wilson was shining. I mean, he looked like an ace on this day.
He looked really good.
6 innings pitched, 1 hit, 0 earned runs, 3 walks, 6 Ks. He was dealing. Obviously, I'll let you cover the rest of the pitching if you have any more thoughts on that. But Gary Sanchez absolutely tattooed a baseball in this one. Top of the 4th, 2 outs. Adames is on base, and Sanchez 2-1 count. He had back-to-back fastballs, and I'll tell you this, he didn't miss the second one. He hit it 427 feet to give the Brewers a 2-0 lead. Really the only opportunity the Brewers had with runners in scoring position, because they didn't have many people on base. The Royals did a very nice job on Monday of cutting the Brewers down and holding them in check, but Sanchez gave the Brewers a little bit of life and just didn't continue, and that's just the way it goes in baseball, man.
So Michael did bring up a point about Turang that he moved up today, and I'm gonna come back to that comment, Michael. I promise when we get to today's game, I'm gonna come back to this comment because I have thoughts. Going to Monday, Gary Sanchez, he did really nice work offensively and defensively in this game. He threw a back pick, almost picked off Bobby Witt Jr., one of the, I would say, a budding superstar. He's got that potential.
He's literally the fastest player in baseball.
Yeah. And Gary Sanchez almost back picked him at first base.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. Pat Murphy actually, after the game, credited how he worked with Bryce Wilson, calling the games, and he said controlling Bryce, working with Bryce. They combined for a really solid 6 innings. And looking at the win probability added that Baseball Savant gives for the games, Bryce Wilson was number 2 in this game at 0.35. Maikel Garcia was number 1 at 0.38, and obviously the Royals ended up winning in large part to him. But the next highest player to add win probability of this game was Chris Stratton at 0.158. So Bryce Wilson, he carried a load in this game.
He did.
He pitched really, really well. So that, and at one point, Bryce Wilson had retired 12 straight players. So I'm tired of the people whining about the same old Brewers offense, and we debunked this last night a little bit. The same old Brewers offense, or typical Brewers can't score anymore, or the Brewers are coming back down to earth, like wasting Bryce Wilson's start. Just because the Brewers lost doesn't mean that Bryce Wilson didn't still have a good game. Doesn't mean that Bryce Wilson's not going to go into his next game and be like, damn, I pitched really well in my last game. We just didn't get the win. He's going to know that he pitched really well the last game, and that's going to be the bottom line.
Yeah, the confidence factor alone is a great thing for us.
Absolutely. So, that, and then Sal Frelick was the only lefty in the starting lineup versus left-handed pitcher, which I thought was interesting, but also kind of a necessity, I think, at this point. But the last thing I want to say on Gary Sanchez, Cole Reagans, really solid pitcher. He had gone 35 innings since the last time he gave up a home run. He had faced 170 batters since the last time he gave up a home run.
Oh, wow.
He had not given up a home run since opening day.
Oh, damn.
And Gary Sanchez said goodbye in the fourth inning.
Wow.
So that's what Gary Sanchez is here to do. He's here to mash against lefties. That's literally what he's here to do.
Yep.
Game 2, last night, we talked about it a lot. I mean, these are my watch party notes from last night. This is my pregame notes. This whole page. This whole page. This whole page. This page is literally just Colin Ray and Seth Lugo. That's how much we're putting into the watch party notes. So if you're interested in getting some much more zoomed in perspective, statistics, what to watch for in a game-by-game thing, seriously, please check us out on Patreon. It's twice a month we're doing it. The people who are subscribed to it get to vote for the games for the next month, and we're going to be live throughout the whole games. If we can, seriously, this is way too much information to pack into our regular Wednesday show. If we can do this for more games, I promise it's going to be worth it. The amount of effort that we're going to put into that content. Yep. Right now, we're only able to do 2 a month. We'd love to get to a point where we could do 3 a month, once a week, twice a week. We just have to be able to devote more time to it.
Yeah. And, as hard as this conversation can be, especially now in the state of the union right now, but that would require money on our end, a monetary value for our time. And obviously we are going to, and I can promise this, Tyler made a big promise before. I'm going to make a big promise right now. I can promise you we're going to give you every penny's worth.
100%.
We're not over here half-assing anything. Okay. I would not put my face on this camera right now if I was half-assing anything. I don't do that. Tyler doesn't do that. And we're doing this right now with families and full-time jobs.
Absolutely.
The potential is unlimited.
Unlimited. Oh, sorry. First thing you said unlimited was the first thing I thought of. Anyways, it truly is. Like I said, for $5 a month, I'm giving you 3 pages of notes on a pregame show. And then you get to watch the game with us. So, you get that. You get to see our reactions to Willie Adames hitting a go-ahead 3-run home run, which was a lot of fun. And then a post-game show. So we talk about the game after it's over. And we're going to get to a point where it's going to be football season.
Just saying.
You get to pick which games we go live for. So Packer games are in play. We might have to limit it to 1 Packer game a month so that people aren't just picking all the Packer games and then we neglect the other ones. But,
right.
They'll be in play.
They will.
So we talked about this game live. Obviously, we talked about it before and after, but what were your biggest takeaways from last night?
Well, I got a few things. Now, I'm not going to give too much away because I want people to go on the Patreon and I want them to watch that and I want them to appreciate it because
you can give stuff away now because it's the day after.
It was a lot of work, but I will say that Colin Ray was absolutely cruising in this game.
Yeah,
and I gave credit to the Royals because Colin Ray was just absolutely pumping strikes in there, and the Royals were coming into this game thinking like, okay, we're going to be a little bit more patient. We're going to work up his pitch count, right? Well, they changed that 4 or 5 innings in, right?
After the 4th inning, he was flying through the first 4 innings.
Yeah, the first 4 innings, I remember looking at you being like, Jesus, man, this game's going to be over.
Yep.
But, the Royals, and I gave them credit, and they absolutely were taking pitches, and then they flipped, and that's when their scoring started. Yep. And they were hitting balls hard, hitting them in the gaps. Bobby Witt Jr. was absolutely a nightmare this entire series.
Yep.
He was getting on base. They were just doing everything right after that, and they continued that throughout the rest of the game. Right? They were just going up there being aggressive. You see a pitch you like, let her fly. Right? And then you go to the Brewers side. The Brewers were swinging early, and they were not taking a lot of pitches, and they were trying to be aggressive, jump on the pitchers for the Royals, and they ended up, switching their. Oh, my daughter is not happy right now. My daughter is not happy, and when she's not happy, nobody's happy. Damn it! We do this show live, and that's not proof. I don't know what to tell you. Sorry about that. I love you very much, but anyways, the Brewers were not taking pitches, and they ended up changing their approach at the plate late in this game, and they started working some counts, right?
Yeah.
Working some counts, getting some good pitches, waiting for the pitchers to make mistakes, and that ended up working for them. So I gave the Brewers credit in our post game about both teams switching their approach. They needed to have the other's approach that the other one had, right? They were using the wrong approach. But also big shout out to Andrew Monasterio. I know you gave credit to him earlier, but man, what a freaking monster. And my favorite part about that was when he got in there right before he caught it, he actually moved to his left He's all happy and smiling like he does. And the bench was going crazy, like, no, your other left. And he ended up taking a couple steps that way. And thank God he did, because the ball ended up, going to his right. And he had to run down a fly ball and go catch it. But, man, he had to be so nervous out there for, like, the first time, probably since, like, high school, being in the outfield, maybe middle school even for him. But, shout out to him and shout out to Adames, man. And I know you're going to hammer on this, so I'm going to leave it open. But I just want to talk about the fan interaction he had. And we were talking about how he high-fived those fans, right?
Yep.
We talked about it in the post game. The fans were like, "We want you, we want you, we want you." And he looked at him. He said, "Are you sure? Because if he gets a walk, this game might be over." And he goes up there and sure shit, he delivers.
So did you hear what else the fan said after that?
No.
The fan said, hit a homer, and he said, all right, bet.
No.
And then he hit a 3-run dinger. After that, Willy Adames went to the fan. He didn't go to the dugout first. He went to the fan. He high-fived the fan, and he was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever done.
Wow.
That's what Willy Adames said. He said, that's the coolest thing I've ever done.
That's awesome. That's what makes baseball awesome.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
That's sick, dude. Love that.
Dude, I aspire to that level of fandom. I respect the hell out of that Royals fan for being a good sport. I love that so much. Okay, so I want to bring a few things up. And I want to talk about Jake Bauers, Oliver Dunn, and William Contreras for 3 of the at-bats that they put together in the 8th and 9th innings. So first I'm going to show Jake Bauers for the at-bat that he had in the 8th inning. So I want to make sure I get the right one here. Okay, so this is Jake Bauers in the 8th inning. Takes an 8-pitch at-bat. Takes a bunch of really hard-thrown balls and works a single. That was a single into right field that Hunter Renfroe wasn't able to make a sliding catch on. And then after that, the next at-bat was Oliver Dunn. He worked a 9-pitch at-bat, ended up striking out, but this is still a great at-bat. To foul off 4 straight pitches, take this pitch number 7 down here. It's a good take. Foul off pitch 8. We talked about this pitch last night. This pitch right here being inside, because the same thing the night before was Willy Adames was swinging at a pitch like this. We talked about what feels like unfair strike zones. Sometimes you have to swing at pitches like this and just foul them off. Because what that does is it takes your fate out of the umpire's hands. And I strongly advocate for taking the fate of your team and your at-bat, whatever it may be, out of the hand of the officials, so that that's not an excuse for fans, because we, as Wisco Fanatics, we don't blame officials for losses because we believe there's other things that can be done. Like, for example, Oliver Dunn could have put this ball into play instead of swinging and missing. Just throwing that out there. That was a good pitch. But by taking the game into your hands instead of leaving it into the hands of the umpires. Because as we've seen, especially as Brewers fans this year, I do not trust the umpires. And it goes to the point of the game before this, when Jackson Churio was thrown out at third base and called out at third base by Angel Hernandez, of all people. Shocking. And then the review, which I don't know if you know this, the review, I'm watching the Royals breakdown of this play, and one of the Royals announcers even thought that Jackson Churio was safe. You want to just take a stab at who was doing the replays in New York that day?
I don't know who it was. Who was it?
It was Guccione, the dude that threw Freddie Peralta out last week.
Oh, God.
That's who was doing the New York replays on Monday.
So we stood 0 chance.
Pretty much. That's what it felt like.
Jesus. I didn't know that. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Okay, so the last at-bat that I want to share is William Contreras' at-bat in the 9th inning last night. We talked about it. Obviously, we were live during it. But the Brewers, at at this point, we're down to their last strike right here. This pitch number 4, which is touching the zone, right on the edge, but it's touching the zone. That put the Brewers down to their last strike. Taking pitch number 5, curveball, made it a full count, fouled off 2 really tough pitches. That's pitch 6 down here and pitch 7, which is this one. Both one inside the zone, one touching the zone. And then to put pitch 8, the mistake pitch, in play for a 2-out double on the 8th pitch of the at-bat.
Love that.
Which brings us to Willy Adames. So I brought up last night, where James MacArthur normally throws his curveballs, which is usually down here.
Yep.
Usually down here, right around where pitch number 1 is. But he's got this little white spot right around where this number 2 is. And if he throws his curveball there, he gets in trouble. That's where guys can hit his curveball hard, and he's got a really high whiff rate on his curveball, but he's also got a really high hard hit percentage against his curveball. And pitch number 2 here was a big old mistake.
Yeah,
that was a mistake.
And I brought it up in the pregame because I did a little breakdown on the Royals bullpen, and if you were paying attention, you would have heard that MacArthur uses his curveball 38% of the time. I'll tell you who knew that going up to the plate. Willy Adames.
Willy Adames knew it.
He knew that, and he waited for one, and it was definitely a mistake. He hit way too much of the plate.
Yeah. That first pitch shouldn't have been a strike either, by the way, but it was called a strike. Second pitch was Willy Adames is just like, all right, just going to put this one into Trevor McGill's glove. And then this is Trevor McGill in the bottom of the 9th inning. Only took him 8 pitches. Look where these are located.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything with any of these pitches. Sure, this one is a little bit in the meat of the zone, but at 99 miles an hour,
it's going to be hard to catch up to that.
You're at best grounding out, maybe getting a line out if you swing basically as soon as you see the pitch, leave his hand.
Yeah.
But we talked about these fastballs. Nobody's touching that.
No.
Nobody's touching that. Your best hope on those low fastballs that are at, 99.3 and 99, your best hope is to beat that into the ground foul.
Yeah, and then on top of that with the curveball, which you're just not touching it.
These are perfectly located knuckle curves. And then this one, bro, if Trevor McGill is locating a knuckle curve at 87 miles an hour at the bottom of the strike zone after giving you 99 up here, I'm just going to be honest with you. You're screwed. Totally screwed.
Yep.
That 2-pitch combination has the potential for Trevor McGill to be an elite closer.
Yes, it does.
Just on those 2 pitches alone. Devin Williams does it with a fastball changeup.
Yep.
By changing the speed and the eye level. Trevor McGill does it with a insanely fast fastball and then a knuckle curve that just goes and completely drops out of your point of view 12 miles an hour slower.
Yep.
So that, and I said this during the game last night. I'm like, I am the biggest Tyler Black fan. Probably anybody that watches our show knows. But putting in Gary Sanchez versus a left-handed reliever, oh man, it's the right call.
It is.
Like I said, Gary Sanchez is here to mash lefties. If you're not going to give him a chance to mash lefties, what did you bring him here for? And he didn't get any hit in his first at-bat, but his second at-bat, he drew a 5-pitch walk, and he was one of the runs that scored when Willy Adames hit his home run.
Yep.
Okay. Anything you want to say about today's game? Otherwise, I will just take over after that.
So I listened to most of it.
Michael said, time to trade Adames. Yeah, time to trade him and send him down. I saw both of those things on Monday.
Yeah. So the Brewers kind of just with themselves, really, in my opinion. They didn't help themselves at all today. Just a misplay by Blake Perkins early in this game after the Brewers had a 1-0 lead. That kind of sucked. Give them a 2-1 lead. And then just not executing like they should, in my opinion. Joe Ross didn't want to come out, but it was, in my opinion, that was the right move as well to take Joe Ross out at that time. Like we said last night, it's all about matchups, right?
Right.
in every sport, it's about matchups. And if Murphy, he's the one calling the shots. He did a great job the day before. If he felt like this was the right move to make, then, I'm just going to have to trust him because I don't have a choice, right?
Yeah.
But, giving up 3 runs in the bottom of the 8th was not great. That really hurt. So, yeah, that's all I got.
So, first, I'm going to go to Michael's comment because Michael said Terang finally moved up today. Bryce Terang got the leadoff spot today. He said with Yelich coming back from the injury, I'd like to have him move down from 3. And I disagree with that. I disagree with moving Yelich down in the order simply because he's coming back from injury. When you're bringing a guy back, if he's healthy enough to play, he's healthy enough to play his role. That's the bottom line. If it was a playoff series and he's like, yeah, I'm coming back, but I'm at 75%, then I could entertain that idea. But if you're coming back into a game in May and you're like, okay, I'm ready to go, I'm here, it doesn't, they said on the broadcast, it doesn't make sense to wait another day or 2 until we're back in Milwaukee. Like, I'm ready to go today. Put him back in his normal role.
Well, then on top of that, he breaks up the righty-righty with Contreras and Adames, right?
That's also fair.
So that's what I would think of right away is he kind of breaks that mold up where, like, if you get late into the game, you can't just throw a right-handed pitcher out there because you have Christian Yelich in between those 2 guys. So
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, like I said, my main thing with that is put him in the role he's going to be in.
Yep.
So Bryce Terang batting leadoff just casually goes 3 for 4 with 3 doubles and a walk. He drove a run in, scored a run. It was only the 3rd multi-extra base hit game of his career, which very young career, but wow. 3 doubles. I'll take that every single day. I hope to see him batting leadoff tomorrow. Christian Yelich was back, and yes, Joey Ortiz didn't start. Murphy went with a lefty-heavy lineup today. Looking at it, I believe he still used at least one other position player. I want to make sure.
He did. He used Churio today.
You're right. He did bring in Churio for Bowers. Mm-hmm. So the only game of the road trip that he didn't bring in some sort of position player substitute was Saturday against the Cubs. So my thing is again, if just going back to addressing the consistent complaints that I'm seeing, is that yes, Joey Ortiz was my power position player in my power pair this week. Joey Ortiz playing very well. He played very well last night. Doesn't mean you need to force him to play every single day, every single inning, because with Pat Murphy, it feels like almost everybody's playing every day anyways. Most of these guys aren't getting, told at the beginning of the day, like, hey, you're not playing today. Even the relievers to a point. Like some of them, yeah, they're like, okay, we'd like to get this guy a day off. But if you're a position player, you should fully be expecting to get into the game at some point. It's not even like, oh, maybe I'll get in. It's like if you're a position player for the Brewers and you're not starting, fully expect to be in the game.
Yeah, there's going to be a position where we probably need you.
You're going to pinch hit, go in defensively, something.
Yeah.
Pat Murphy's using everybody. He's using all 26. So that, like your point on the second half of last night's game, the Royals were very aggressive, swinging early, swinging often. And then in the top of the 7th, if you're Jason Lane and seeing Oliver Dunn and looking at the left fielder, if the left fielder fields it clean, that's when you put the stop sign up. And here's the thing is they don't enforce the box for the base coaches. They don't enforce that. So you can get halfway down the line, and if he rounds the base by 4 or 5 steps and the throw comes in and it's accurate, you can throw the stop sign on, have him go back, and then that still gives Terang the opportunity to advance to second base. That's where I would maybe change that. But again, what I'm going to go back to is conversation that we've had about liking the Brewers being aggressive.
Yep.
You can't like that the Brewers are being aggressive and also be mad that they're getting outs when they're being aggressive. You just can't.
Yeah.
You can't have your cake and eat it too. These are some of the outs you have to accept if you want to be aggressive. It sucks when they happen. Totally get it. I'm like, damn it, that was a great throw. He got thrown out at home. That would have tied the game, I believe, at that point. But you have to be willing to accept some of those things happening if you want to play aggressively.
Yeah.
James, this is an opportunity for you. You said he self-proclaimed he doesn't know much about baseball, but the Brewers have a man on second base. Brewer hits a double. The left fielder fields it clean, throws home, and the guy's out at home. And people are like, "Why are they sending him? Why are they sending him? That was a terrible send." You're not mad that he got sent. You're mad that he was out.
Yeah.
If Dunn makes this crazy dive and he's able to slap his hand on the plate as he dives by, nobody's going to say a single thing about Jason Lane. They're going to be saying that was a great, run by Oliver Dunn and a great slide.
They're going to be, oh my God, the Brewers just did it again. They were so aggressive. They would have never done that with Counsell.
Exactly. So this is the thing. If you want to play the small ball game, you want to do it aggressively, which is what I want. I want to play the aggressive version, not the sacrificial version. You have to be willing to live with plays like this once in a while. It's just a fact of the matter. If you don't want things like this to happen, that means you don't want to be aggressive.
Yeah.
Which is fine if you just want to go station to station, but you can't expect to score a lot of runs. And Michael said it took a perfect throw to get done.
Yeah,
I was good with the aggressive play. It happens. I'm just going to put Michael's comment on here. This is the exact reaction you should have.
Yep.
That's the exact reaction. Anything less than a perfectly fielded ball, a perfect throw, and a perfectly fielded ball by the catcher, and Oliver Dunn is safe. So just a well-fielded play, and Dunn even being pretty decently fast, thrown out. It's just a perfect storm of what it took for the Royals to make that play.
Yeah.
Okay. So looking at it over the course of it, Joe Ross, another decent game. I'm not gonna complain about 5 innings pitched and 3 earned runs. Like, I'm not gonna be mad at it. It's one of those things where, like I said, we hold Freddie Peralta to a higher standard than 5 innings pitched and 3 earned runs.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is Joe Ross didn't lose the game for the Brewers today.
No.
He put them in a position where they were still in the game, even up until the 8th inning. Even into the bottom of the ninth or the top of the 9th, they were able to score a couple more and make it a closer game, despite being down 6-2 after the 8th inning. So the Brewers playing all 9, it served them well, obviously, last night to play all 9 innings. So, like I said, I'm not going to be mad about an out on the bases if we're being aggressive. I'm not going to complain about it.
So I just wanted to leave you with something that I learned while I was watching the game or listening to the game, so I wasn't able to watch it. Bobby Witt Jr., when he scored today, he has 35 runs on the season. The next closest person on the Royals is 18. He is almost exactly double the second place person on the Royals. He is the Royals.
Yeah, he really is. Like, they have a decent team around him, but he's far and away their best player.
Yeah, Alvador Perez is having a good year too. And we talked about him once last night and gave him his respect. But Bobby Witt Jr., you said he was a maybe superstar?
Budding superstar.
Yeah, I agree.
He's in the springtime of his superstardom.
Yeah, you guys missed our discussion last night about every team having a good freaking shortstop too. What the hell is that about?
We had a good conversation. I think I had a good rebuttal to it.
Yeah, Michael's always in all the fantasies.
Hold on. Jake knows how I feel about bringing in fantasy sports when it comes to actual discussions. Homie, don't play that.
Yeah, not great.
Same with Madden. If you're like, he's really good on Madden, get out of my face.
I do that sometimes because I know it's gonna make you mad.
And I that's a surefire way for me to not respect your opinion. If that's how you're gonna do stuff. If you're gonna be like, well, he's good at it on Madden.
He's got a 94 spec catch. Why is he not catching that in real life? Come on, bro.
Get out of my face.
Exactly.
Okay. So looking at the Brewers, they are back in Milwaukee tomorrow. Tomorrow through Sunday, they have a 4-game series against St. Louis, against the Cardinals, who they swept the last time they played them in St. Louis. So I would love a 4-game sweep. And then after that, I wanted to check 3 games against Pittsburgh. All 3 of them will take place before next Wednesday's show. So we will be back with 7 baseball games next Wednesday. So on a 7-game week, what are you thinking? I'm thinking 5-2 playing at home.
Well, you're getting a Pirates team that has honestly come back down to earth. They look terrible right now.
And they are calling up Paul Skeens, but the Brewers will not see him next week.
Yep. And then you get a Cardinals team that just lost their best player.
Yes, which is sad. That's really unfortunate.
It's terrible how he got hurt. Yeah. Honestly, I feel bad for him. But they just lost their best player. So this might be the medicine that the Brewers need after having a tough road trip. So I'm going to go, and this is going to sound crazy, I'm going to go 6-1.
Ooh.
6-1, and they're winning on Saturday, especially because they play on Fox.
Oh, okay.
I'm excited about that. A national televised game for the Brewers. It's going to be sick.
Sick. I wish they played on Apple TV because they seem to do well on Apple TV on Fridays too.
Dude, and the broadcast on Apple TV is phenomenal.
They are really good.
Phenomenal.
They are really good.
Great job.
Yep. Totally fair. Yeah, we got to start watching more Apple TV baseball games so we can aspire to that level.
Yeah, right.
Dude, I so badly want to be able to put graphics on the screen while we're doing our pregame shows. It would be so fire.
I know, it'd be so disgusting.
It's one of those things. Got to be able to have the time to work on it, but we're going to get there eventually. Promise. Promise we're going to get there eventually. We'll be able to do stuff like that all the time. We'll be able to have, 4 of them a week, and 3 of them will be free, and only 1 of them will be paid, but it'll pay our bills so that we can do it all day, every day, and that'll be the life.
Hell yeah, baby.
And then you'll get tons of great Wisconsin sports content all the time.
Yeah, and you have to hear my great voice every day and look at Tyler's great face every day, and then we'll be good to go.
All right. The other thing that we are doing between now and next Wednesday is next Tuesday evening, we are going to discuss the Green Bay Packers offensive draft picks and what we think their roles are going to be with the team. So that'll be next Tuesday. Bryant and Simon will be with us for that. And then the following Tuesday, we're going to do the defensive picks. So next Tuesday, offensive picks. Then Wednesday, you get Jake and I again discussing Brewers baseball. Then the following Tuesday is going to be the defensive ones. And then Wednesday again, you're going to get Jake and I talking about more baseball. So that's what we'll see up until then. Until then, sign up for us on Patreon, please, and thank you. We will thank you by name on our next watch party. That's going to be May 28th. May 28th is going to be the next watch party. That's going to be Brewers Cubs. It's going to be a fun one to do, and we will be live for that. Michael, next Tuesday is going to be 8 o'clock.
Yep.
So
all our Packer shows are going to Tuesdays now, just so everybody's aware.
Yep.
They're all going to Tuesdays. They're all going to start at 8 o'clock. Even the game recaps and previews, everything's going to be Tuesdays. So
yep. Earlier in the week, you get to hear us talking about the games. You don't have to wait until Fridays to get our thoughts.
Yep. I mean, I'm sure if there's stuff, Tyler and I, or Tyler, myself, Simon, whatever combination, I'm sure we could pop on a Friday night just to discuss some stuff if there's big news. But
that's when like our play breakdowns are going to come down. That's going to come in later in the week. It's just so that we can get the content out there earlier in the week so people have a chance to listen to our thoughts on the last games and then the upcoming games as opposed to only having basically Saturday and Sunday morning.
Yeah, I mean, that decision was kind of because there's just 1,700,000,000 all the millions of Packers podcasts. And we're really a one-stop shop. We give you Brewers, Badgers, Bucks, Packers. We give you it all. So we had to compete a little bit with the people that are putting their stuff out on Mondays and Tuesdays. So we're going to get out there and we're going to show you guys that we're actually the smartest. You guys are going to all come join us. It's going to be great.
Well, and the cool thing is, like Jake said, a one-stop shop. You get the consistent voices and the perspectives. Yep. So you can know what to expect from us when we talk about the Packers because you've heard us talk about the Brewers all summer. So that's that. So like I said, check us out on Patreon. If you sign up for it, you'll get to vote for the games that we're going to cover in June. Yep. Jake and I are going to put that poll up probably tomorrow so that Jake and I are on the same page for what our schedule looks like so we can make sure we have all the games available that we are available for. Yep. And then, that's where we're at. So sign up for us on Patreon. Come see us on Tuesday. Come see us again next Wednesday and follow everything we do in between. And the more that we grow, the more we can do, the more we can put out, and the more that we can hopefully make a difference. So
thanks for joining us today.
And we'll see you.
Tell your friends. Tell your friends. Tell all your friends. And tell your friends' friends, okay? Tell everybody to come. I want 7,000 people in here next week.
19 is great, but 7,000 is better.
Yeah.
All right. We will see everybody on Tuesday night.
All right. Take care.